Have you ever made a decision that you instantly regretted? Maybe you bought something you didn't actually need, or maybe you trusted someone, only to realize they were just manipulating you. And after it all happened, you could only say to yourself, I should have thought this through. But why does this happen so often? Why do we keep making snap decisions, even when the red flags are right in front of us? The answer might sound simple, but it runs deep, because we haven't trained our critical thinking skills. And you're not alone. We live in a world that moves fast. Information comes at us from every direction, and we're constantly pushed to react instantly. Scroll, like, comment, buy, believe, all without thinking twice. Our brains are trained for speed, not depth. Now imagine this. You're just chilling, scrolling through your phone, when you see a trending story. Celebrity A caught cheating with their manager. You react immediately. Maybe you comment, share it, or even believe it right away. But 5 minutes later, a fact check pops up. It was fake news. You feel tricked, and right there, you think, why didn't I think before reacting? It's not entirely your fault. Our brains naturally crave comfort and shortcuts. We prefer things that are instant, easy, and quick. But a life built only on speed, without depth, leaves us vulnerable. To algorithms, to manipulation, to our own unchecked emotions. Critical thinking isn't just for professors or scientists. It's a basic skill that should be taught from childhood. Because when you can think critically, you're harder to fool, harder to manipulate, and most importantly, you gain control over your own life. And here's the good news. Critical thinking can be trained, just like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. But of course, it requires the right kind of training. Knowing the theory isn't enough. You need real practice. You need to know when to pause, when to ask why, and then when to say, hold on, let me think this through. In this video, we're going to walk through the fastest route to mastering critical thinking. No boring theories, just real actionable steps you can start applying today. So you stop being a passive observer in this world and start becoming a person who actually takes control of their own mind. But before we continue, I want to ask you something. When was the last time you thought, if only I had thought it through? Things would have been different. Write it down in the comments, because by doing that, you're already starting the process of reflection, and that's a powerful first step. Now let's dive into the next part. Why is critical thinking so important in the first place? All right, by now you probably realize critical thinking matters. But the real question is, how much does it matter? The answer? A lot. In fact, it's one of the most important skills you need to survive in today's world. Think about it. Every single day, you're bombarded with hundreds, even thousands, of messages. From social media, from the news, from friends, from ads you didn't even ask for. All of them are fighting for your attention. All of them want you to believe them, click them, react to them. But out of all those inputs, how many do you actually stop to question? How many do you just absorb without even realizing it? That's why critical thinking is your shield. When you've developed this skill, you don't just go with the flow. You pause, you question. You ask, is this actually true? Or why should I believe this? Now imagine living without that shield. You'd be an easy target for manipulation, for false advertising, for emotional traps. Ever seen those ads that say, lose weight in 7 days, no exercise needed, and felt tempted? Or headlines like, politician X is the hero we've been waiting for, without knowing who wrote it or why. If you don't think critically, you end up falling for it. Not just once, but over and over again. Let's make this even more real. You're job hunting. 2 companies are hiring. One has a super polished website, glowing reviews, but vague salary details. The other looks plain, but everything's transparent and clear. If you're not thinking critically, you'll probably choose the one that looks more convincing. But if you stop and dig deeper, you might ask, why are all their reviews so perfect? Or, why aren't they being upfront about pay? Being critical doesn't mean being paranoid. It means not accepting things at face value. It means giving yourself the space to ask questions, weigh options, and see the bigger picture. And this applies to everything. Relationships, careers, friendships, even your beliefs. Every part of your life deserves your awareness. Think of critical thinking as a filter. Once you build that filter, you get to choose what to believe and what to discard. You feel calmer, more rational, and way more confident, because your decisions are grounded in real understanding. And here's the beautiful part. Critical thinking doesn't just protect you, it elevates you. People begin to see you as wise, as someone who's grounded, not easily swayed, someone who others can trust. In conversations, you bring insight. In relationships, you can't be easily lied to. In work, you make strategic, thoughtful choices. And now, in the next part, we're going to get into the practice. A simple but powerful habit that can completely transform how your mind works. It's called asking why. And trust me, once you master this, you'll never see the world the same way again. We're living in an age where information moves faster than the blink of an eye. But what often slips through the cracks is the habit of asking questions. Simple ones like why. But that one question is the foundation of all critical thinking. Unfortunately, many of us grew up in a culture that said things like, just follow the rules or don't ask too many questions. When in fact, it's those very questions that teach us how to think for ourselves. Think about the last time you agreed with something without thinking too deeply. Maybe when your friend said, "Bro, this investment is a guaranteed win." Or when you read a news headline and instantly believed it without checking the facts. We've all done it. But from now on, try holding off that instant belief. Replace it with one short but powerful sentence. Why is that? You don't always have to say it out loud. Just keep it in your head. For example, when you watch a motivational video that says, "Waking up at 5 a.m. will make you successful." Hold on a sec. Ask, why 5 a.m.? Does this apply to everyone? Or just a certain type of person? Once you get into the habit of asking why, you'll start noticing just how weak some arguments are. And no, it doesn't mean you have to be cynical or constantly suspicious. It just means you're not easily satisfied. You crave explanations. You're curious, and that's a strength. You might be thinking, but if I ask too many questions, won't people think I'm annoying or trying to act smart? That's the trap. We were raised in environments that often treat curiosity as a burden. But the truth is, asking questions means you care. You care about the truth. You care about your decisions. You care about your future. Don't be afraid to look different just because you ask questions. In fact, that's what will set you apart. You don't just repost stuff. You don't blindly share things. You don't believe something just because someone said it confidently. You're not a passive follower. You're an active learner, and that's rare these days. You can apply the why habit in everyday life too. For example, why do I feel like I need to buy this right now? Why do I trust what this person says? Why did that comment make me so angry? These questions open the door to self-reflection. And over time, you won't just become critical of outside information, you'll become more aware of your own emotions. That's what builds mental strength. When you're used to asking why, your sense of logic sharpens. You'll begin to spot the difference between arguments backed by evidence and opinions dressed up in convincing words. And you know what? People who ask why often are the ones who grow into leaders because they don't move blindly. They understand the reasons behind their actions, and that's what makes them resilient. So from this moment on, train yourself to stop accepting things just because someone said them, even if you trust that person. Question it. Ask why. Dig deeper. Because the more you practice asking, the clearer your thinking becomes. And that is a huge step toward a smarter, stronger life. Now imagine this. You're sitting alone. No debate partner in front of you, but inside your head there are two versions of you arguing. One says A, the other says B, and you're the referee. This is called mini debate. One of the most powerful ways to train your critical thinking without ever raising your voice to anyone. Most of the time we think in just one direction, one opinion, one conclusion, and we get comfortable with that. But a healthy, sharp mind doesn't grow from comfort. It grows from discomfort, from questioning your own beliefs. And that's where mini debates come in. Let's say you're thinking about quitting your job. Start with two sides. Side A. I need to quit because I'm not growing and I'm always exhausted. Side B. But at least here I have a stable income and a peaceful environment. Now dig deeper. Side A might say, I can't keep running in place. Every day feels empty. Side B might reply, but if you leave now, how long can you survive on your savings? Are you mentally ready for the job hunt? This kind of debate doesn't need loud voices, but it does require brutal honesty. You've got to be willing to listen to both sides, even the one that goes against what your heart wants. This isn't about winning. It's about making well-rounded decisions, not impulsive ones. You can also use mini debates on common life questions like, should everyone go to college? Pro side. College opens doors to knowledge and powerful networks. Con side. But plenty of people succeed without it. The world is way more flexible now. Train your brain to see both sides. Look for logic. Look for data. Find the holes in each argument. And most importantly, stay neutral. Don't take a side just because it feels better. Mini debates also help you think systematically. You learn how to build arguments, not just from emotion, but from structure. You sharpen your wording, choose the right phrases, avoid flawed logic. It's a skill you'll use not only in debates, but in everyday conversations, team discussions, even when writing a caption on social media. You can also practice this with friends. But remember, the goal of a mini debate is not to win. It's to expand your perspective. If your friend has a different opinion, don't get defensive. Listen, reflect, ask back. Why do you think that way? Or would your view still hold if we looked at it from another angle? The more you debate in a healthy way, the sharper your thinking becomes. You learn to tell the difference between facts and opinions, between arguments and assumptions. And here's the fun part. Sometimes you'll realize your own argument isn't as strong as you thought. But that's not a loss. That's a win for your reason, your mind. Mini debates make you flexible in thought, but firm in principle. You can hear others out without losing your identity. You can disagree without starting a fight. So from now on, whenever you have an opinion or a decision to make, don't just trust your first thought. Challenge it. Put it in the ring. Let it spar in a mini debate inside your mind. It won't take long, but the impact is powerful. Because with mini debates, you're not just training your brain to think. You're training it to understand. And that's the heart of critical thinking. Not to prove you're right, but to make sure you're not just guessing. Imagine this. You walk into a room full of people. They're talking about everything. Politics, business trends, even conspiracy theories. Some are just echoing what others say. Some act like experts without knowing what they're talking about. But you're different. You can tell the difference between facts and assumptions. You ask the kind of questions that make people stop and think. You don't get easily triggered. You don't believe things blindly. And most importantly, you're not easy to fool. That's the ultimate goal of critical thinking. Because life is tough, my friend. The world is full of biased information, sugar-coated promises, and words wrapped in pretty packages, but empty on the inside. If you don't train your mind, you'll always be a victim of someone else's narrative. From manipulative ads, to biased news, to influencers who seem to know everything, but haven't really thought things through themselves. But when you develop a critical mindset, you don't just float with the current, you can swim against it if needed. You can filter information. You can ask, why is this being said? What's the purpose? What evidence supports this? Is there a hidden agenda here? And here's the beautiful part. Critical thinking doesn't make you cynical. It makes you wise. Because it's not just about questioning others, it's about understanding the world more clearly. You become more fair in judgment, more patient in your responses, more careful in your decisions. That's what separates great thinkers. They can't be easily manipulated. Because they know truth isn't about who shouts the loudest, it's about who thinks the sharpest. Now look around. How many people live based on assumptions? Who believe things just because someone said so? Who spread information without checking the facts? Who make life-changing decisions based on impulse? So what makes you different? You have the courage to think. You don't just follow. You don't just obey. You don't just swallow everything handed to you. You challenge it. You process it. You filter it through your values and logic. And this is the result of everything you've been learning. You understand the value of critical thinking. You've trained yourself to ask why. You've practiced having mini debates inside your mind to see both sides of an issue. And now, you've become someone who's alert, resilient, and grounded in your thinking. Not because you know it all, but because you're aware that life can't be lived on autopilot. That to survive, grow, and win, you need a clear mind and a strong heart. That's you, the best version of you, one who keeps growing, keeps questioning, and keeps seeking truth, not comfort. And trust me, we're just getting started. On this channel, you'll dive deep into topics that challenge your brain, expand your perspective, and sharpen your foundation. We'll talk psychology, logic, manipulation, culture, even philosophy, all in a way that's simple, but profound. So before this video ends, here's my challenge to you. What's one belief you've accepted without question, but now feel ready to re-examine? Drop it in the comments. Let's learn together. Because critical thinking isn't a solo skill, it's a shared journey, and you are now part of a community that chooses to think. If this video made you pause, made you reflect, hit that like button and share it with someone you care about. Because who knows, they might need this too. And if you haven't subscribed yet, this is your moment. Here at Neuro, we don't just watch, we think. We learn and we grow, together. Click subscribe now, and hit the bell so you never miss a drop of mind-opening content. Because the next video might just change the way you see the world. See you there.